Wholeness and balance, family. One love. Just tree with you here today in my father's garden. Here we're in Los Alamos, New Mexico. Look at these beautiful canyons behind me and trees. And there's a greenhouse where we grow food for my dad. And just wanted to talk to you, speaking of the trees, a little bit about the misunderstanding about the true problem of carbon and also health and why breatharianism is a key thing to understand as a human being, because we're all really breatharians. We need our breath more than anything. And truly one could say that all disease, mental and physical, comes from the body not being able to breathe properly, and that it's all disease and mental and physical is because of the slow asphyxiation of the spiritual organs of the lungs and the nose. And that, been listening to Hilton Hotima, and he's talking about figures from the 50s about how a typical city, your body has to process through the breath. Think of it, as like the air filter for your car, and how if your air filter is plugged up, your car can't really breathe and fire, the pistons and all that stuff. It's just a plagiarization of our own body. In a typical city, this was in the 50s, like I said, the human body has to filter out 1.2 pounds in a year of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, hydrochloric acid, sulfur, nitric acid, like acids and carbon, and this basically plugs up the lungs. When you add on top of that, diets that are also high in acids, that where mucus, this dovetails into like Dr. Sebi and Dr. Robert Morrison, their whole assertion that all disease is mucus. This mucus comes in where there's a site of inflammation, like a fireman, to put out the fire. And so this accumulates and plugs up the eliminatory channels, the assimilation channels, the lymphatic channels, and the breathing channels. And so there's this misunderstanding about disease and where it comes from, and that it's basically a matter of acids in the body that are destroying the body, that the body's trying to put out with mucus and heal, and that when you get a cough or a cold or something like that, your body's trying to expel this mucus, and then if you add on top of that things like smoking, chemical toxins, our buildings that are made out of chemicals that are off-gassing terrible things, the lack of good clean air. I live here in the high desert where we have some of the best air around. It's still, as you can see, just so pristine here, so beautiful, and there's so many, I'm surrounded by trees right now, right? So this is a beautiful thing, and that is partly why I love the high desert, as mountains, good rarefied air where there's plenty of negative ions. If you go to the mountains or you go near a river or you go near the ocean, there's better air because the negative ions knock this dust and particulate out of the air, and you get higher concentration of oxygen. That's why all the yogis will go up into the mountains, So we need to, as breatharians, every one of us, understand this connection with our breath, So there's this greenwashing about carbon and how there's global warming happening. There's also effects that have been shown quite clearly of this, a warming effect happening because of solar activity. And, that we will, with electric cars, zero emission cars, quote unquote, solve this problem. Yet those cars still run off coal factories, nuclear, various things that are not great for the earth. I'm looking forward to a time where we're getting into zero point technology, like Nikola Tesla was into, this understanding that there's energy everywhere. It's part of the breatharian understanding, cosmic energy raining down energy coming up from the earth, lightning charging the crust of the earth, you know, that you are energy being your, atoms, every nucleus is exuding a nuclear force, which I think is actually love. And that, the true problem with carbon is it's going to asphyxiate us. And so as breatharians, we need to take on the responsibility to plant more of these things right here, more trees. We need to bioremediate the earth and bioremediate the air as part of our karma to heal our culture and to make this place a safe place for future generations, to heal the air, the water, and the land, as an extension of our own bodies. So I just, the Hilton Hotima got me going on this tip, and I needed to share it with you. And so I hope you got something from this. I hope you'll take some action, direct action, to clean up your own body and your own consciousness, to tap in to breath and the breath work, because the healing power of the breath, the way it's been shown to help people, with mental disease, with physical disease, to alkalize the body, to, it is your spiritual organs. It is how we become more imbued with spirit, with electricity, with vital life force. And through that connection, see the importance, our need to plant trees. That we should all be permaculturalists. We should all think about having a permanent culture. And that's going to entail one of responsibility to the other life forms here, as well as ourselves. So anyway, I'm going to go sit with my wife while she finishes lunch, and didn't want to chant this stuff in her ear while she's trying to peacefully eat. And I hope you got something from this. Give thanks, family. Be well.